Hello everyone, we are Geeks Not Nerds. I am once again Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.
And today Eric and I are going to talk about a topic that was suggested to us by Chewbacca's lover, Eric. And Chewbacca's lover asked us to discuss humor in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. This is a thing that we talk about all the time, and because it comes up a lot. I mean, you have a lot of factions in... I don't like that word. I don't know why I said it like that, but you have a lot of fans, fan groups, communities, different parts of the community of Marvel Cinematic fans that think that there is either too much humor, that like we rely too much on the jokes and that gets in front of the drama, or you have other contingencies of people that's kind of why they're there. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to talk about that today. We're going to put 15 minutes on the clock. We're going to do a whole discussion on it because I don't think we've ever talked about just this aspect by itself, and I think it's worth exploring some. We'll see if we bring up anything we've never talked about before, because this does come up.
Yeah.
But here we go. So, by and large, where are you on this at this moment in time, right after Infinity War? Is it still a problem? Because I know it has been for you with certain movies, and forgetting Ragnarok, because that is our big issue with that movie specifically, but you had that a little bit with Doctor Strange. Did you have it with Infinity War? Did you have it with Black Panther? What's it like at the moment?
I don't have it with Infinity War. I don't have it in Black Panther. I think there is no hard rule, but if I was to say there was a hard rule, I don't have a problem with jokes.
Right.
It's gags. It's when a film that is not a comedy becomes a comedy. You do not need to be a comedy to have jokes. Human beings make jokes.
Right.
So I think for me personally, it breaks down just... I don't have a problem with lines. I mean, I guess sometimes I do. I have a problem with the Whiplash scene in Civil War where they make a Spider-Man joke and then it's dead serious. I have some tonal issues, but like I don't have an issue with the idea of jokes. I think these movies should be fun.
Of course not. And I think it's... Sometimes I don't like the way we deconstruct this.
Because it does seem like people want them to be... It seems to be like if you complain about the jokes, people think you want them to be joyless. You want BVS.
And I think you also have some fans that every time there's a joke at all, they in their minds have decided that there's a rule about this now, and because that's taken them out before, they all take them out because they're not thinking about the context anymore. Mm-hmm. And I understand why that happens, but I think some people have gone too far on both directions, you know? So, like the idea that Winter Soldier being such a heavy movie, no one should ever have any levity at all is preposterous.
No, because they're still superhero movies. They should still be fun. Like, they're still human beings.
Yeah. And we need that. And of course, this is the obvious place to go, and you already alluded to it, but I mean, like, that was the problem with BVS. You had practically this no-joke rule, and that wasn't the problem with that movie.
I don't think that's a problem necessarily. I think you can make a big, grand, very serious film. I've seen plenty of... Actually, you know what? I don't know if I can say I've ever seen a movie that doesn't have jokes.
That works.
Yeah,
like at all. I mean, people tend to have levity. You do have some characters and some human beings in real life, of course, that are humorless, and often there is some kind of comedy that ends up accidentally coming from that also. Mm-hmm. But and I'm not saying that if every character doesn't have some kind of... If there's not a place where I'm laughing at every single character, you're doing something wrong, because I know people that have never made me laugh one time, ever.
Yeah.
And I also know people that have tried a lot and are terrible at it and have never made me laugh, ever. These things happen, of course, but it's... And this is why the comic relief character is still a thing, and sometimes is necessary, and sometimes is handled really well, you know? But, like...
That Shakespeare guy kind of knew what he was doing.
That's great, yeah, sure. I worry about deconstructing it too much, but I understand why we do that. The idea that we take out an aspect of a thing and we start to judge it every time it's there and break down why it's there and if it's working or not bothers me a little bit. I want to look at the piece as a whole and if it's working and if it's effective overall, and then break it down. So the idea that, we had that preposterous notion that I don't know if it was a rumor, I don't know how true it was, that at one point DC was talking about having a rule of you can't have jokes in your movies, period. That is ridiculous. You have to take everything completely case by case. And in the case of
even the Christopher Nolan movies have jokes.
Yes, of course, sure. And like, you're absolutely right. I feel funky saying it like that. You know what I mean? Like we're going to insert jokes in our movie. No, you write a scene and characters do what the character would do in the scene.
Now, sometimes, like in the case of Doctor Strange, a lot of times it does feel like we are inserting jokes.
But I think that's a case where that does happen, and where it is a problem, and it's intrusive, and it's not always intrusive.
There are funny jokes in that movie, but then there's a lot of them where it's like, so we're just meeting a quota, right?
Yeah. So I'm going to say a thing that most people watching this, if they've ever heard me talk, have heard me say 6 billion times. I'm going to say it again. The 6 billion in one time. You know what it is, right? You make anything work. You just got to make it work. And I'm saying that here to say, and some people will not believe I'm saying this, contrivances are okay. What do I mean by that? What I mean by that is I want to not notice it. Yeah. I want to not know that it's contrived. I want to not know that the reason there's a structure thing and there's a storytelling thing, and these things can work in tandem. So sometimes in a scene, you're going to intentionally put in things that you think are necessary for making your movie more accessible. There is the business side of this. I get that. When you have studio mandates, or when you just yourself think, oh my god, this is too heavy, we've got to lighten it up a little bit. Like when James Gunn, I talked about this in the Rewind, when James Gunn first wrote Guardians, it wasn't a funny movie. It wasn't an overly funny movie. It wasn't a comedy. Joss Whedon suggested, you should put more James Gunn in there. You should make it more comedic. And he was like, okay. And he did that. And in my opinion, some people don't agree with this, in my opinion, for the most part, what he added is what made the movie work, and it needed to be a comedy, and he was right about it, and that is intrusively integrating, like putting things in, but he blended it, and it comes from character places,
right,
and
but
it makes sense.
That's more like, that's not a page one rewrite, but like, it's not looking at a scene like, how can we punch this up and make it funny? Like, it sounds like he went back and
about it sounds like that's kind of what it was.
Wow.
I don't know.
That works way better than it has any right to, then.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was a page one rewrite. I mean, I don't know if it was even
not a page one rewrite, but I would think it would be a full other draft.
Yeah, and I'm sure there are a lot of scenes that are very, very different than they were before, but I think the structure of the movie is mostly the same.
Sure.
That I don't totally know. I'm just going off of what he said in the commentary.
Well, and Guardians at least is a comedy.
But you see what I'm saying?
It's not as intrusive in something where it's a comedy.
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying? It's okay if things sometimes come from a technical place. I need to not know that when I'm watching. I need it to not take me out. I need to lose myself in the fiction. So if in Doctor Strange we say, and I don't know how this happened, I don't know if this is what it was, but if in Doctor Strange it was like, oh, we're afraid we're losing our audience, we better have the Cape do more funny things and slap him around and stuff, that feels kind of superficial. It's not... It's not as well integrated.
There is no perfect work. There is no fiction that exists without flaw.
And some of this is very subjective, right? There are things that will take me out that don't take you out, and we can argue about what the point of it was, why it was put in there, whether or not it's well integrated. That's not always objective. You can't always say this was definitely. This definitely fit well. You and I have argued about CG a lot, where it's like, I think that's well integrated, you do not think that's well integrated. You and I have had that argument a lot.
But like, there is no work without flaw, and some of it sometimes is completely unsubjective. This is a leap in logic. This does not make sense.
Right.
What's important, because there is nothing that is perfect, is making you believe it while you see it and you're not thinking about it. That's all it is.
Yep.
That is the difference between good and bad. Is do I believe in this moment and this thing?
But the problem is...
Because everything's made up. All fiction's made up. Like, it's like, it can never be completely 100% perfect.
By definition, contrived.
Yes. Yeah.
I love fiction because of the lie that I believe in the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's when it's working.
Yeah.
But here's the problem, okay? When it's impossible not to build a bias, building off of what you said, it's impossible not to build a bias when it hasn't worked against certain kinds of comedy.
Absolutely.
So what ends up happening is you get into arguments where some people think that the stopping everything for Manape or whatever his name, I forget his name in the movie, in Black Panther, where he stops everything and he's laughing about the vegetarian thing, and then a little bit later when he when Black Panther asks for help and he laughs and then he stops everything and says no. For some people, I think that's wonderful. I think it all works. For some people, that's that Marvel stop everything for a joke comedy and it doesn't work for them. And this is where it starts to get a little bit subjective, where I see where they're coming from, but in that particular case, it worked for me, and I think if it was the first Marvel movie, you would have never thought of it.
Well, and also, it's isolated.
That's just
character.
My thinking.
That seems to
I
be
don't
that
want to
guy's
speak
sense
for
of
other
humor.
people.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, exactly.
Which is the same thing with Claw. Claw doesn't take me out because he's a completely consistent person with a very consistent set of how he acts and what he thinks is funny, what he does, and it doesn't ever feel intrusive because that's just what that guy is.
Yeah.
As opposed to, this character is serious in most scenes, but because we need a joke here,
right.
all of a sudden now he's a jokey guy. Yeah. We did not do this with Thanos. Thanos has no jokes.
No.
I don't think we even have comedic scenes with Thanos. I mean, other people are making jokes around him, but like...
No, because he's supposed to be, so weighty and have gravitas and all that, and they were probably scared of it, but there are things you could have done to get away with that. He doesn't seem like a humorless character, and in fact, my Thanos is a very smiley, enjoying murdering people Thanos, and it seemed like that's what we had before we got to Infinity War. And once we get
relate
there,
to things that are very much like you.
Once we get to that, we will talk about, and or have talked about that already a little bit later on the spoiler cast. But Thanos is even in that movie is a character that I could see taking some joy in things he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying it was a mistake to do it the way they did, but it's a little safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
But having said that, I'm sure there are places in Infinity War where people are like, this is supposed to be a really serious, mortifying thing relative to these movies. How can you have so much humor, so many jokes? And I've heard people say this. In a movie where, spoiler alert, half the cast is disintegrated by the end. And I say, A, that's how you keep it, that's partly how you keep it from being relentless, provided I buy that that's what these characters are doing in the moment. And B, I don't want to say, you have to keep going with something that's not working, but I don't think that by and large it totally has been bad and doesn't work, except for the movies that I have issues with. So this is going to sound disingenuous to people that have that problem, but they've been those kinds of movies all along. It would be really weird to suddenly have a super humorless... imagine characters like Peter Parker and especially the Guardians are just suddenly not laughing at anything. And also, most of that is happening, or at least a lot of that is happening before the proverbial stuff hits the fan, right?
Well, that's what I was going to say, is unlike Thor Ragnarok, which is a farce from beginning to end, that pretends it has these big weighty things, and it's like, well, there's some of us still there. Well, I guess not. Well, you were supposed to care about that place. It's a joke. Half of everyone dies. No one's like, at least I'm left alive, right? There are no jokes in the ending of that movie.
Well, some people might not like the mother effer line with Nick Fury in the end credits, sure. But that seems like a thing he would say because he's Sam Jackson.
He's Sam Jackson. Well, and again,
and also, it's sticky. It's a hard road to walk, right? But I also like that we can have some fun with it. Well, all at the same time, is that okay?
Yeah. To go back to the
but it's got to be character driven
to the Empire Strikes Back thing.
Yes,
Empire Strikes Back is a darker, more dour film than Star Wars and Return of the Jedi. It is not joyless.
Film. Yeah,
it's not. It's
the one I have the most fun watching.
Yeah, it's not devoid of joy until maybe the last 5 minutes of that movie when everything gets taken away and everything gets real bad. The whole movie is darker than the other two.
But Infinity War also has that.
Yeah,
until
exactly.
The after credits.
Exactly. There are many jokes. There are many great lines in Empire Strikes Back. Yeah. We think of it as the dark one. It's not Star Wars. We didn't just be like, well, this is going to be a serious one, so no one can make any jokes.
So we're almost out of time. My final thoughts on this are, I think people are going far too far when they say these movies, by and large, don't take themselves seriously at all, and we need something like what we were trying to do with the early DC movies to balance that out. I don't agree with that. Having said that, there is still intrusive comedy, and I think the larger issue is watering down bigger ideas. I think that is the larger idea with the Marvel movie.
I do think if they found the right character or the right film, it would be a mistake for a movie that would have been more Dark Knight-y, and then you add in a bunch of jokes. I do think that would be a mistake, but we had Winter Soldier, we had Black Panther.
Yeah. They've already proven they can do those kinds of movies.
Yeah.
And I think Black Panther goes a long way to say we can still... Because it's also one of the most fun movies to watch.
Yeah,
I have so much
thing.
fun with that movie. It goes a long way to saying these aren't all kiddie films, and we can have fun with them even when they're darker. I mean, like, we have a villain in that movie that has killed, like, thousands of people, or at least hundreds of people, and scarred himself everywhere. That's a Netflix villain kind of, Marvel villain kind of thing, and they finally put it in a PG-13 movie. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it's,
Not because it's violent, but because, again, actions and consequences, and it's weighty, and it feels like there's actual consequences to the horrible things he's doing.
The thing I always go to on both sides of the extreme, because I feel like sometimes I feel like a hypocrite, but I'm not. It's about a balance.
Yeah.
I can watch dour things and be like, boy,
it's about the
I
balance.
wish you had some fun. That's one of my biggest things with fantasy films is stop taking yourself so seriously.
Yeah.
Have some fun. But then I look at a movie like...
Do you have that with Lord of the Rings a little bit?
I do.
I do.
I mean, Lord of the Rings does have fun. I have trouble not getting bored.
But it sometimes feels a little bit few and far between.
Yeah. And on the other end of the spectrum, I'm like, you can be fun without being funny.
Right.
And without making everyone an idiot.
Well, that's why...
I want things to be fun and dramatic. And you can do... I love Shane Black. Shane Black is the master of making films. Is it a drama or is it a comedy? Like, it's kind of both, but it all comes from character.
And that's why when people tell me, well, how come you don't like, X film? I thought it was really funny. If I don't like it much of the time, it's either because it's just not my thing and I didn't think it was funny. And so I can't really speak to the quality of it as well. Or, more often, it's because, well, I didn't think it was appropriate.
Yeah, it took me out. Now I understand I'm watching a joke as opposed to someone saying something that is just genuinely naturally humorous.
And that's why I gave the first Guardians a 4, because I thought it blended all that so well. And that is a textbook character arc. And then you get to, and not formulaically, just that guy knows how to write a story. And then Guardians 2, I think, is somewhat problematic.
Well, Guardians 2...
Which I like that movie a lot, but I think it got too hung up on its own reputation. It got popular real fast, and so like, oh, we're making a comedy.
Every scene has to have a gag.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And some of it works better than I thought it did in the theater, because I was blindsided by how much of that we did, and more of it comes from character places and from, just logical things that I thought it did, so I wasn't giving it quite enough credit, but I'll telegraph this now, that movie probably will not get a 4.
Is that It's Not Ripe thing? Does that get back?
I still don't like it.
Yep, yeah.
I'm with you on
That's
that.
the big one that sticks in my head for the stinger joke that doesn't work.
Yeah. There's too much of that movie feels like Spaceballs humor, and Guardians, would you agree, doesn't have that.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely.
I know you don't like it as much as I do, but or at least not to the place where, I gave it a higher score than you would have, I'm sure. We've talked about this.
Yeah. I'd give it a 2.5 to 3.
Yeah. I think it's much better than that.
Sure.
But I don't think 2 is nearly quite there. We're out of time. Let's go ahead and go on rants now.
Sure.
What is your rant this week?
I'm gonna rant about, why don't you just have some integrity?
We sound drunker, and we're not even drinking right now. We sound drunk when we go to rants. That's we put that voice on.
It's a little bit of the Plinkett thing, right? It gets to my head. I'm complaining.
It's hard not. Well, now I'm going to complain about things.
Have some integrity, comic books. Maybe there are things that you just don't do because you should have artistic integrity, and you shouldn't be soulless hacks trying to make money. I think the fact that we changed the Infinity Gems is absurd. I think that is obnoxious.
Are we even calling them gems anymore?
No, they are stones. They are stones because
He's talking about in the comics.
Yeah, I'm talking about in the comics. We changed all the colors and we now call them stones. And I just flipped open Infinity Countdown or whatever. I just want to see what it looked like. It looks really boring.
I'm buying it because I buy everything Infinity, but I haven't read it.
But on the first page, there's like, here's all the stones, and I flipped. I was like, who is this helping? Because if you're a reader, there's no way you're not pissed, right? Like, there's no way that, like, if you've been reading for your entire life, all of a sudden the Infinity Stones are different because the movies said that they were different colors. How are you not just like, well, that's just you just being soulless hacks?
Well, and I've said this before, but I'm sorry, every time you say anything that's a stone within you're soulless hacks. I've said this before, and I'll say it again, but man, I love being eternal. But we had an out with all of this.
Yep.
With help me out, Secret Wars. We had it out with it. That was supposed to be our reboot. It really wasn't a reboot.
We've talked
about
about
this. And so we change things for no reason all the time. When we had a really easy out, we could have changed it there.
We've talked about this. It kind of feels like the Marvel Universe ended with Secret Wars.
It does.
It feels like now we are just.
But it's nice if you don't like what they're doing now. Secret Wars is really good. I still stand by Secret Wars.
It's a fine finale to the entire
really
Marvel
like
Universe.
it. You could say that's the end of it, except that we restarted at the end of that story. You kind of have to give up the end of it. Is the problem? But
that's not true. Just that's the end. It starts over.
Okay.
The cycle resets. You don't have to keep moving.
Yeah, but the problem is it's setting up too much of what they do later, and so if you know about that stuff, it's difficult to, you know what I mean? But, yeah.
But, so, if you just saw the movie, and you went and you bought Infinity Countdown or whatever...
For the 15 people that did that.
Who is going to read that book and be... Because the immediate thought is going to be... Because who would be confused by that?
Are you losing them?
Yeah, like, they're like, oh, it's different in the comics. So the immediate counter would be, well, they know what all the colors do, right? So, like, if somebody's running around with a green stone doing this, and they expect it to be timed, right? That's the immediate counter. Except you open your book with a diagram telling you what all the gems do. There's a lot of stuff with comics.
You're not just complaining about the stones.
What do you mean? No,
just what you're about to say.
Yeah, no. This was just kind of an end for like just a lot of things I think we're doing that's just really hacky.
Again, I don't know who it's for.
The existence of Doomsday Clock.
Because we know that we're not bringing in a lot of new readers with movies, and that's just part for the course now. I mean, the movie it's been 10 years now with Marvel. That's a lot of Hollywood's take. Everybody goes and sees those, and it hasn't suddenly inflated the comic industry, and so. It's like you feel like you have to turn it into the movies for the people that are there already. Why? What is the point of that kind of synergy?
Yep. I don't know. What they should be doing is
I don't even think it's a business strategy. I really don't. I can't tell you why exactly they're doing that, except that just that's how it is now. That's what the movies are doing. That's the popular thing, and it's just popular to do the popular thing.
They're not looking at their legacy. They're not looking at their history.
Do you think there's much thought behind it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
I assume people are just like, well, I thought this was what I was supposed to, because that's what's in the movies. Like, there's so little. I mean, Marvel doesn't care at all. Like, it is so clear. I'm not saying that there aren't writers there doing good work and that they care about the things they're working on, but Marvel as a whole...
Editorial is different from...
Marvel as a whole does not care.
And
they don't care if the books match up. They don't care if it makes sense. They don't care if you can read a book on its own or you have to buy... They do not care.
And of course, there's great people at editorial, too, that care more about the stories than they do anything. But
Marvel... I mean, this starts with Quesada. The breakdown of continuity starts with Quesada, and I love a lot of stuff from that era, but Quesada's the one who starts all that.
Which is funny, because even Quesada hates the multiverse thing.
Yep.
Even he hates the 616 thing.
Yep, because it was never supposed to be canon. There's a lot of stuff that comics are... Mainstream Big Two comics... I mean, Doomsday Clock, it shouldn't exist. Like, could you imagine the audacity of just being like, if, like, in the next Doctor Strange movie, they were like, oh, well, we're going to go over to Seven Samurai. And we're now going to say that Seven Samurai is continuous with the Marvel cinema. Like, it's a standalone masterpiece work. I understand you own it. But it's so just like you just don't do that. Like you just have some integrity. I don't know. Comics are Big Two.
And I'm buying it, and I like things about it. But I agree with you.
You and I have had many conversations about just going backwards. Just be like, there's so many old comics we haven't read. Let's just go read those.
Yeah,
why do we have to care about what's happening now?
No, I mean I'll go on record. I don't mind being transparent about that. I'm still spending quite a bit of money a month on comics, and I still very often find myself going, maybe I'll just go start buying old comics again, and maybe I don't need to keep up.
I have no interest in... I'm sure it's great. I have no interest...
There's a lot of good things going on right now, but I also don't know how much I care sometimes. Like...
And what are the chances you're not going to go find out that they're just redoing something that was already done?
Yeah. Then the problem is, this is where I feel again kind of like a hypocrite. I guess that's the out of us this week. Captain Logan's a hypocrite. Captain Logan, like, I'm not even
infinite hypocrisy.
Infinite hypocrisy. I love that. This is the hypocrisy doll. Go back and watch the. I hope we get more views than normal this time on
new acquisitions.
So
you can find out about the hypocrisy doll.
Yeah, because I'm so uncomfortable with that. I want people to watch it so that they can. So that I feel more vindicated about the fact that you had to say that, because I mean, I'm not vindicated.
At least I'm making money out of
people. That's not what I mean. People should at least derive some enjoyment out of this, anyways. But no, I keep rebuying my childhood. I keep buying things because it's a remake or a do-over, or it's not really that, but we're just doing the same thing we did before.
But in the case of like X-Men,
I buy Doomsday again and again and again, and I buy Galactus again and again and again.
But you keep buying X-Men,
Watchmen again and again.
But you don't go back to the actual stuff that inspired the '90s cartoon.
No, I have a lot of it.
Yeah, you could just go read that stuff.
I probably own half of Claremont. I've never read most of it.
Like I'm kind of interested in Black Panther now after the movie.
Yeah.
I have no interest in Takesi Coates. I'm sure it's great. I want to go read the older stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff that inspired the movie.
I'm somewhat curious about Coates, but
I'm not until I go read more. I want to go read the Christopher Priest. I want to read the Don McGregor stuff.
You probably appreciate Coates more because that's what he's deriving from, obviously.
Yeah,
I'm sure he's read that stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure he has.
And I got the sense that Coates was already a Black Panther fan. Like, I think he wanted that character specifically. I think he grew up on that. I think it means something to him. Yeah, that was the sense I got.
I've gotten the sense that a lot of
I don't think that was it. I haven't looked into it in a long time. I don't think. I used to know this. I don't think it was a situation where he went to Marvel and was like, I want to write a comic book. I think he went to Marvel and said, I want to write Black Panther.
Well, what I've noticed is that a lot of black geeks, especially ones from the 70s and 80s, they're really big fans of Black Panther and Luke Cage.
Well, sure.
Not just those are I am aware of them. No. They grew up with them because that was the only thing they had.
Yeah.
And so they did read a lot of that stuff.
Those characters actually looked like them, and that was few and far between. And they were cool, and they looked like they were interesting. And I mean, those are two characters I've always been curious about. They seem like really cool characters, but I didn't know a lot about them. And now we have wonderful screen versions of both of them.
Yeah, and I like Luke Cage, and I have a familiarity with Luke Cage from Bendis and from some older stuff, but I never cared about Black Panther.
My wife has always loved Black Panther, man. Just anytime she shows up in anything. So it was a big deal that we got that movie and it was that good. But it was a character I never really cared that much about.
No, he's an Avenger.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought the isolationist Wakanda thing was really cool was really interesting politically.
He's named more that I don't hate.
Yeah. That's good. And he's
I have no strong feelings.
And he's Dr. Doom that's not evil.
Yeah.
There's that too.
Anyways, do you have a rant?
Yeah, and we have 3 minutes and 15 seconds left from the timer I put on, and that's all that it will take to do this rant.
Okay.
My rant is simply, it's like a 2-sentence rant. There should be easier ways to see plays that don't come close to where you're
Yes! I agree completely.
We're going to talk about
I've complained about this before.
Later. I've complained about this before, too. This seemed like the night to talk about that. One thing I do appreciate is that you do get them with Fathom events. I think that's great. I think that's a really good kind of middleman way for people to be able to see plays inexpensively. Mm-hmm. And they seem like they're well shot, and that doesn't seem like a bad way to do that. It's a good compromise. You go to the movie theater and you spend like $15, and you and you see a filmed version of where they're just on stage, but they filmed it. I like that. I should go to more of those.
Yeah.
I say more. I've never done that. I should do that, but I don't find out about them until the last minute.
Well, and those used to seem to be more readily available. In the 90s, we seem to be doing more of that.
You mean where you could get them on video and stuff?
Yeah, because that's how I see Into the Woods, which is my favorite play of all time. I've never seen it live.
Yeah.
Sweeney Todd, Elvita. I think it's an Egyptian one. We used to do this. It seems like we used to do this a lot in the 90s, where we would film it. It wouldn't just be one camera. Like sometimes it would be like a close up, if we were over on this part of the stage.
Right.
Why don't we release those? I've never seen Wicked. My mom and my sister have seen Wicked 5 times because I keep going. I don't want to drop $50 for a thing I've never seen, have no
And
experience
I
with.
blame America.
But I would
England,
like to see Wicked.
England does it. And when I was at KU, I watched a lot of Shakespeare plays because it's easier with some of those plays to understand what's going on if you have a visual component. And if you see, they're plays, they're meant to be seen. So I would read
not meant
them.
to be read, it's meant to be experienced.
Yeah, and I would read them, and then I would watch them, and I would follow along. And there were like radio versions too, but it was easier if I could see it.
Yeah.
And but that was all, if memory serves, it was all British. It was all BBC or whatever. And we should do more of that here.
And we shouldn't have to just wait till the movie adaptation.
And some of it was major actors, like there's I forget which play it was, but one of them had Ian McKellen in it.
Oh, that's awesome.
I got to see some of those with major actors.
And we shouldn't have to wait till the film version, because so often the film version...
One of them had Renee Auberjonois.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
But so often the film version is that play through the filter of... Sweeney Todd is Sweeney Todd through the filter of Tim Burton.
That's right.
Into the Woods is an abomination, at least the second half. And
Now, Sweeney Todd is pretty good.
It doesn't resemble the second half of the play at all. And it's a whole thing. You're not actually getting to experience the work.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a little bit, obviously, of the stage director.
Sure.
Their
But
own
if you do it when
influence.
it's still on Broadway, when it's the original cast and
Yeah. So I don't know. That's my whole. That's my whole rant. I wish, because I
would keep up with plays more and musicals more.
Me too, and I just feel less cultured, because you find out about these things that are really super popular, and that's on the coasts, because that's where you can see Broadway plays, and I don't get to go to them. And it's frustrating.
Oh, and it's $200 to go see it live? I don't
Yeah.
have $200 to go see something everyone tells me is good that I have no frame of reference for.
Yeah, same here, sure. And I mean, that's why I go to concerts, because they're less expensive and they're more easily available, and it's stuff I already know, and I know all
I never got to see the Book of Mormon. I really wish there was a thing for the Book of Mormon.
Well, and there are, and to be fair, we have really good drama culture around here in Kansas City. It's not a Broadway town. We have good off-Broadway shows. They're about to do The Lion King. I've never seen that live. I should go.
Oh, interesting.
I should do more of that kind of stuff.
Ash vs. Evil Dead's come back.
And we've talked about that forever.
In July.
And we should, now that I've seen a little bit of that show too.
Oh, sorry, it's not Ash vs. Evil Dead. It's just Evil Dead the musical.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like I have seen one of those movies, but now that I saw that, I'm more interested in
It's
going.
July. I'm thinking about buying tickets.
We should go.
Yeah, because I also want to take my girlfriend, because she's a theater person.
Well, I don't have to
She's
go
never
with you.
seen
That's
that.
fine. You can go by yourself.
That's not what I'm saying.
We talked about that a year
That's not what I'm
ago, and I
saying.
would really like to go. I'll go by myself. It's cool. Whatever. It's cool. I'll take Deadpool. Me and Dad. He'll enjoy it. I think.
There's no way I'm not going to a live event where you're gonna squirm.
And possibly get fake blood on me.
Yeah. Well, you have to buy the splatter seats.
We won't buy first row tickets or anything. So anyway.
I would probably can't afford first row tickets.
No, we probably can't afford a lot of tickets to that show. Anyway, so folks, that's going to do it for us for Geeks Not Nerds this week. Thanks a whole bunch for watching, and if you want to keep going with us on the Omnibus, the next thing we're going to be doing, spoiler alert, the next thing is the Infinity War spoiler cast. So if you have not seen that yet, that is next in the playlist, so just keep the playlist rolling along, and you can listen to Eric and I, and sometimes DJ, and sometimes Rasco, because we had really bad lag on that show, just to let everybody know what happened with that show. They do not get to chime in nearly as often as I wish they did, and I still feel bad about it. It was a weird lag issue we had. That's part of why we don't do those as often anymore, just because there's technical difficulties, and they get funky, but I think it's a good conversation regardless. It's a little more than an hour and a half, and originally it was just going to be an hour, and that was impossible, especially because of the lag thing. Yep. But anyway, so stay tuned though, because we talk ins and outs of Infinity War, and then right after that we're going to go into the comic vault. So stay tuned, and we'll see you here in a little bit.